Hello and welcome to TFTon2Wheels. I'm your host, Mike, and today's episode, introductions and hellos. So today I want to talk a little bit about teachersfortomorrow.net, this motovlog series and what it's going to be, and introduce some of the names that you'll hear throughout this series. So my name is Mike. I am a technology director in a local school district in Cuyahoga County, not just outside of Cleveland, Ohio. I started life as a 7th grade world history teacher. I student taught in the classroom of a gentleman named Garth, and that was at Beechwood City Schools, Beechwood Middle School, the first one-to-one school in the state of Ohio. And what I quickly found as a student teacher with Garth was that there was more to teaching than textbooks and tests. There was more to technology integration than just doing things online. So Garth was already about 10, 11 years into his career, I believe, when I student taught with him, and had a lot of ideas and things that he wanted kids to be able to do, to own their own learning. I came along, felt the same about a lot of things in education, and was willing to work hard for no reason at all other than to, help these kids do something new and exciting. So that's what we did. Garth and I spent a lot of time talking about what the classroom could be and what we could do with the kid. And at the end of that first year, I ended up staying 5 or 6 weeks longer than my student teaching experience was supposed to be, so that we could actually create, in essence, the blueprints, the foundation for the world's first student created online textbook. We used Wikibooks that first year, so I got to learn some HTML and other coding. And it was really just a collection of essays that we ended up putting online with the table of contents. And we thought it was amazing at first, and then a week or two afterwards we started thinking about how that's all it really was. It was just some written words up there. So the next year I was hired in a school district about 30 miles away as 7th grade world history teacher. So Garth and I decided, to continue to connect our classrooms and try to build up on this project. We were able to do that using Skype. We started to use Google Apps before Google Apps was even Google Apps. We were actually just using kind of an early adopter beta Google for Business account to start collaborating in the cloud with our students. The games were a little smaller. The school I was in had 1.5 computer labs. There was no laptop carts or device carts. Garth's kids were still on MacBooks every day. So there was a lot of his kids teaching my kids, and we started to look at this whole project and what we were doing in a very grand scheme, a long-term kind of fix. Not what are we going to do this grading period, but what are we going to do this year that builds for next year. And it really changed my focus as a teacher in education, and it changed why I did things with kids, changed what our classrooms looked like. So we started blogging. We started teachersfortomorrow.net, keeping a journal, electric journal of everything we were doing so we could share it out. We wanted other teachers to get in on this. We wanted worldwide collaboration. Textbook went over to Wikispaces and became multimedia and huge and amazing. I think this is the 9th year the kids in multiple districts have worked on this. Thousands of kids, I think, at this point have contributed their best work, continually going back and editing each other's work. We've had kids in high school ask to edit pages now that they know more, now that they took world history in high school and they don't think their page is worthy. Everything we've done in that textbook has been student created, and we've never given points or grades. It was done for the simple sake of leaving a legacy, of leaving something that will help others. And as we started to develop that idea that what we're doing in the classroom is helping future students and students in other parts of the world, it changed how Garth and I set up our class. We would actually use the first 6-ish weeks of school to teach the kids about perspective and about leadership and about leaving a legacy and digital citizenship, and all of those things were ingrained in the lessons. It wasn't, we're going to tell you what digital citizenship is. It wasn't, we're going to tell you how to leave a legacy. It was, we want you to understand what these words mean, and we want you to take ownership of it. We want you to tell us what we should be doing, what you should be doing, what affects a 7th grader in my district, in Garth's district, in the world. And what we really found, and what it took me a long time to really realize, is that we were working towards this mindful, empathetic classroom. And that kind of started me down the path of looking at empathy and what empathy is and how that affects what we do. And I left the classroom about 2 years ago, well, 3 years ago now, for multiple reasons. But Garth and I had met a teacher named Travis, teaches down outside of Columbus in Ohio, so about halfway across the state. Young guy, 7th grade world history, wanted to get in on the awesome, wanted to create do things with his kids. So Garth and him, to the time I'm recording this video, still work together and collaborate now halfway across the state. And Garth and I have presented in hundreds of conferences, multiple countries, online, in person. We went and helped school districts in Indiana and New York, and we've had all these amazing experiences, and it's all because administrators and teachers see what we're trying to do and what we've been doing, and they're inspired, and they want to do it. And it's very humbling to think that some little suburbs kid can get a job in a little district just trying to help, 150 kids at a time, and to have that kind of influence and impact. A couple years into the journey, we also met Alan November at a conference, showed him what we were doing. He immediately saw the significance of it because of where he's at in his career, because of his travels, because of what he's written and done. He saw that bigger picture that maybe we weren't willing to see or could notice, and Alan's support has been pretty amazing. And that really brings us to this motovlog series. So one of the other passions in my life is motorcycles and motorcycle riding. I've been riding about 16 years now, all kinds of bikes. My wife rides with me. My kids ride with me. It's my way of meditation. There's so much awareness that has to be there when you ride a bike. It helps me focus, if that makes any sense. And the blog that we've kept, we've written thousands of posts. I feel like I started to write the same thing over and over again almost. And I start to wonder how many people really read blogs completely. I mean, we get 250,000 or more views a year, which still boggles my mind. I don't know how that's possible. So I started thinking, what's the next step for me as a tech director, as a teacher, as a human being, in spreading the message of what I found to be true and work in the classroom? And I follow a lot of motovloggers on YouTube. Most of them just talk about life and motorcycles. There's not too much of a specific topic. And it dawned on me that, that's something I could try. So I got a Drift Ghost camera, mounted to my helmet, ran a microphone. I figured I'd give this a try. Do 10-minute or less videos with a good message to start conversation, something people could watch. And this series is going to be just that. We're going to talk about everything from one-to-one to blended learning, to empathy and perspective and compassion, to school finance, to parents, to being an administrator. To that end, my goal is to also do a video or two occasionally just on motorcycles and motorcycle riding, just to keep the channel interesting. So we'll talk about equipment, and we'll talk about motorcycling and what that means to my life and what I do, how it helps me find my focus. The other really big part of this, I'm going to be heading out to Boston to Alan November and November Learning's BLC 16 conference, where I've presented. I think this is my 6th trip out there, and I'm fortunate enough, Alan asked me to do one of the mini keynotes, kind of a TED Talk style, 20 minutes on empathy in the classroom, the way that I've leveraged that. So the first BLC I ever went to, I rode my 2008 Harley Nightster out there. Took me about 14 hours. It was a pretty customized bike at the time. I definitely don't buy motorcycles because of comfort. It was a great trip. So this year I'm taking my Ninja, my ZX6R, out there. And I'm going to leave in a couple days, and on my way, since I only have about 20 minutes to do a keynote, I want to expand on some of those topics and talk about perspective and compassion and empathy in the classroom. And those videos will go up after the keynote, along with some other resources. And this is just kind of a TFT 2.0, and hopefully keep conversations going in education. So follow along. You can always find me on Twitter, at Professor Mike 1. That's the number 1. I'll have some links below all these videos, back to some of the posts we've written, to some of the people I talk about, and to Twitter and ways to get a hold of me and things like that. Watch the videos, learn from them, start some dialogue, ask me questions. It's all about making the world a better place. And remember, the natural consequence of empathy is equality.